I think passion projects are really special. It's really easy to get jaded in this industry, especially when you're doing this as a career, or your main source of income is making videos, kind of lose sight of why you got into this in the first place. I think at the core for me, they remind me of why I love this, and this project was really true of that. So if there's anything you take away from this video, I really hope that it's just to go out and make your passion project that you've been wanting to for a while. And please do not be intimidated by all the gear we have for this. We could have done with so much less. This was really just, we had the resources, we had access to it, so we did that.
You guys know what you guys are doing.
We're figuring it out.
This video was really special to me for multiple reasons. It was for one of my best friends in the world, my buddy Cody. He was training for a world record attempt, which is a 50K in 50 days and 50 states. I was gonna go and make him like a little mini video or hype video, just me and maybe another buddy. But then around June of last year, I made an Instagram post mentioning that I wanted to do a passion project and asked if anyone was interested. I had a production company that reached out expressing interest, and they're called Make Films. They're a local production company to me. The owner had coffee with me and said he was interested, asked if I had any ideas. I met with the team. I pitched like 4 or 5 different general rough ideas, and then they really liked this running one. So I went back and developed that even more. I pitched them a treatment, and then the team liked it, and to my surprise, they were like, let's just go for it. And I made the treatment really ambitious, so I was really surprised at how little pushback there was. I think treatments are really important for passion projects, especially if you're asking a lot of favors from people. It can hopefully get them excited about the project and also just communicate your vision very quickly and concisely. I had an About Cody page, an introduction to the overall story of how I want it to be, how I want it to feel, the time of it, content summary of what the actual video will be about. And then I had a more in-depth of how I saw the story happening and unfolding, and then the scene locations. We shot everything in one house, one back road in the city of Harrisburg, and then a park, and then in a studio. All of the house scenes, that was actually at my in-laws' house, and they were gracious enough to let us film there. And then the look and feel, that gritty, kind of elevated docu-style. From there, we kind of just dove into like how we're actually going to do this and the crew we needed to pull it off. So I worked really closely with our producer Grace on creating the schedule, and I kind of told her the scenes I think we wanted to do per day, and she made the schedule from there, which was awesome. Finding the props was another fun thing that you don't always think about. Luckily we didn't have too many. Like we had the map, just the ice bath. We had to get this like Halloween kit for when he cut himself, then a spray bottle to get Kobe sweaty, and then a treadmill for the studio stuff. And that was really all the props. So we actually had quite a bit of gear for this one. We shot mainly on the Alexa Mini LF, and then we used the Red Raptor for all of the car rig shots or anything that was on a rickshaw. Pretty much all of the action running shots we used that for. Then we had a set of Sigma primes. We had an Ember, which is just a really high frame rate slow motion camera. We had an FX3 for the Snorri cam. We had that old camcorder. That was kind of the bulk of the cameras that we used. So touching on this ice bath scene, it was honestly pretty simple. The hardest part was getting the camera, that top-down shot. So we used the Alexa Mini for that shot, and it was just really scary seeing $100,000 worth of gear above a tank of water. I really trusted our G&E team, and they pulled it off. It was pretty much just a Dana dolly upside down, and there was like a 90-degree, I think it was a cheese plate or something like that, how they did it. Then we had a light mat with the Menace arm set to like around 7,000 Kelvin or something around that range, just something really blue. And the ice bath is real, if you're wondering. Kobe probably hates cold more than anyone I know, and I had him go fully under multiple times. And by the end of it, he was shaking so bad, like he literally couldn't stop. And I actually made it in the video where he's shaking super bad. So shout out to Kobe for braving the cold on this one.
That's still cold. It's still...
So while they were setting up this ice bath scene, it was raining outside. My friend Taco, he's the one that provided the Ember shots. So I grabbed him and Kobe and went outside real quick and got those raining shots. Slow motion shots look so cool, especially with rain or anything like water related.
My name is Kobe Tabar, and I am...
So moving into this dining room scene, I knew I wanted this like warm ambient glow coming from the window. And sometimes how I would achieve this, I would do like a book light outside But it was my mistake thinking that the two 600Ds bouncing into something would be enough output. It just wasn't strong enough to really have any significant source on the window when we were already bouncing into something. So we ended up just shooting the 600Ds directly at the window, and then we had diffusions pressed right up against it. And then on the inside of the room, that back corner just out of frame, we had a light mat for, and we had a snap grid on it. Then we also wrapped it with some muslin. But this was our key light for the scene, and it was just wrapping that window light around a little bit more, especially when we went into the close-ups. And other than that, we just had some duvetine or floppies controlling the light, so we didn't have as much spill in the room, since I knew I wanted it like a moodier, darker ambient vibe. Then our finishing touch was just adding a little bit of haze in the room.
And sharing the gospel with one person in each state.
I honestly didn't know if I would even use this shot. I could see the video happening where it was almost entirely him talking and we don't see his face ever. So I opted to get a tight shot of him and then go through the interview questions just in case I wanted to show his face for like 1 or 2 seconds. And that's pretty much exactly what ended up happening. For this shot, we had a light mat wrapped in the muslin. And then we had just a bounce, filling in the shadow side a little bit, lifting it up. Yeah, that's it. So then for this shot, we used a probe lens on a Dienner dolly, and we just pushed in as he's pulling the string. There was a window to the left of him, and we just diffused it with some silk, and then tried to create some contrast with these negative frames.
The pain of regret pushes me the most.
All right, so for this Backroad running scene, we were running like maybe an hour or so behind schedule, so this was really stressful because it was so sun dependent, and I wanted to get it just after the sun went down. Although it was a little bit later than that, but I still think it was fine. But for the running shots, we used the Red Raptor on the car rig with the Movi. The Red Raptors was Cody Stauder's, and he was probably the MVP of this project. He was the gaffer, he was the Movi operator, he provided the car rig, the Red Raptor was his. He had a few Sigma primes, and he just brought so much to the table. This project probably wouldn't have happened to the extent that I did if he wasn't a part of it. So big shout out to him. So all the running shots were shot on this setup. And then we had a few handheld shots of him with his hands on his knees. That was on the Mini LF. That way we didn't have to go back and forth of gimbal and handheld. And then that UFO looking shot where it looks like he's kind of getting abducted. That was a light on the bottom of a drone, and Taco provided that. The purpose of that, I just wanted to play with Kobe's subconscious mind throughout the entire video. That was kind of my thought process with like the drone, the black and white stuff, the slow motion shots, all playing with his like subconscious mind. So for the running scenes in the city, we shot majority of this in Harrisburg, and it was on that same car rig, and we made Kobe run. I think he ran like maybe 5 miles with very minimum breaks. We found this one loop that we really liked, and we just kept doing that. We pretty much just got a combination of like shots of him directly behind the car and then the side to get some profile angles. Fireworks shot we got, that was a complete happy accident. There was a ballpark on the other side of the river. It was at the end of the game, so they do fireworks, I guess. It was the most perfect happy accident I've ever had while filming. We were all screaming like little girls in the back of the car when it happened. That light that we had out the window, the thought with that was kind of like a Rocky feel, where you're maybe following the runner in the car, you have a flashlight on him. It also acted just so he's not completely silhouetted and we can kind of capture him a little bit better. The studio shots weren't very complicated. We just made this like duvetine half cube. Then we had two 600Ds with Fresnels on top of it. And then we had them set to paparazzi mode. We had haze in the room. And then we also had access to, there was a softbox overhead that the studio has, and we had that on very, very subtly. And we got a lot of transitional shots here. We messed around with a really low frames per second. I think we were at like 6. That gave that like really wild motion blur. Then we also got some like macro shots with that same lighting setup. We also got that scene where he was getting hit by the car in the studio. Originally, I wanted this to happen on the robot arm, but we had the Movi crashing in on Kobe as he looked back. And then on top of that, we had someone on a 600D with a spotlight mount. We had him pan the light as the camera was crashing in, and then Kobe looked back. And it was just a matter of rehearsing that until we got it right. For these park running scenes, we transitioned from the car rig into a rickshaw, and we had the same red Raptor on the Movi. We had a lot of like tracking shots of Kobe running, a lot of profile shots, but we didn't really have many transitional moments. So that was the hope with this scene, and then also just having a different environment where we already had something urban, we had something like country backroad. This would be like a more park residential feel. And then at the end of the day, we got those end shots where he's like looking off of the sunset. That was a really good closing shot that we got with the rickshaw. So we also got the shot of Kobe drinking water. That was a quick pickup. We had the Lexi Mini on sticks, making sure the sun was at the right spot. And then the snorri cam we used, we just had an FX3 on that, and I had him put his hands over his head a little bit, jog around. Well, that's all I got for this one. I hope you guys are inspired to go and shoot your passion projects, and thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.